Hey, what's up, guys? Just getting a couple things ready on my end. Probably start here in like 5 minutes. What's up, Tom? I probably need to go wash my hands because you do not want dirty hands when building a computer. I will be right back. I think it's a little late for Bedford to take notes. He already got his built, right? Nice, nice. A pile of loose screws. There will be plenty of loose screws. What's up, One Heart? How's it going? Yeah, we will definitely be making sure that we don't install any extra risers so that it doesn't short out. Dan built a Ryzen system. I was going to, but I just saw the 9900K and I couldn't get it out of my mind once I thought about building one, so I'm gonna stick with Intel. Let's see. Thanks, man. I've got a couple different scenes. I can switch these. So what I've done is kind of cleared my entire workstation, and this is going to work as kind of an anti-static mat for me. Typically, if you don't have one of these, you can just build like on top of the boxes. Your motherboard especially, you don't want to get static on. And the cardboard acts as a good insulator, and they usually come in like an anti-static sheath that you can use. Got my Jacome little magnetic modular screwdriver. Love this thing. It'll focus. Show you guys that. Comes with like an extender and stuff. Pretty cool. Tweezers and then like an extender bar. And then get my mouse out of the picture. Put it up there. I'll put that over here. All right, so pretty much how a computer build goes is that there's like three main stages. There's getting the motherboard all put together. So that's step one, getting everything into the motherboard. There's the CPU, the RAM, the SSDs if you have them that plug into the motherboard, the M.2 drives. Then you typically want to get the air cooler installed, especially if it's a big aftermarket one, onto the motherboard before you put it in the case so that it's easier to deal with. And once you've got like the motherboard all put together, step two is getting the case ready for the motherboard. So you kind of put the motherboard aside and then go do case stuff for a little while and get all the fans installed and get the PSU inside. And then once you've got that done, you put them together, and then putting them together in cable management is pretty much the last thing. And then any software you need once you power it on. So, all right, I guess I can start unboxing the motherboard. I've got, let's see, this part is going to be unbox and prep the motherboard. So before we just start plugging stuff in, you want to get everything set up exactly how you want it. You want to kind of figure out what you've got and where you want to put stuff. Taking the time to get everything set up in a way that is efficient and convenient once you actually start putting pieces together will save you a lot of time down the road. All right, so this is the I/O shield. We're gonna need that when we start putting the case together. So I'm gonna put this over here on top of the case because that's gonna be step one for the case. All right, now we've got a couple other things in here that we'll need to hold on to. We've got a couple of Wi-Fi antennas that I may or may not be installing because I'm never going to use Wi-Fi in this. So I haven't decided if I'm going to use those yet. Probably not. This is an SLI bridge for if you use dual graphics cards. We're not going to be using that. SLI graphics cards are pretty much not used anymore because single graphics cards are so much more efficient, and doubling the price of your graphics card would be better spent on a better graphics card than two graphics card. I guess if you're really going to run something in SLI, you could run two 2080 Ti's and graphics cards, but then you're looking at like a $10,000 computer. So let's see. Then the motherboard always comes with a couple of SATA cords. These are going to be used to install your hard drives or SSDs if you don't have M.2 drives. So these will always come not with the SSD, but they'll come with the motherboard. So I think I've got 2 of them in here, and then if you need any more, you have to buy them, but they're like $5 for a pack of 5 on eBay or something like that. All right. These are going to be the screws for the, I think, M.2 drives. They look about that size. I would guess that's what they're for. All right. So I've got the ASRock Z390 Taichi motherboard. I got it for its overclocking VRMs. Hey, what's up, Gus? All right, so because I have an anti-static mouse pad, I'm going to be installing just on the mouse pad. But if you don't have that and you're installing on a wood table, or definitely if you're installing on a metal table or something that conducts electricity very easily, you want to install your motherboard just right on top of this because cardboard has a lot of air in it and is not a very good conductor. So we're not going to be using that. But something good to know if you don't have an anti-static mat. Yeah, Bedford, you should have just waited until I ponied up the cash to build a computer. All right. There she is. Now, I got a pretty plain looking one. I went with the one that was going to be best for my overclocking potential. The Z390 Taichi is really good for its VRMs. Do you see these 2 blocks right here? These are your heat sinks for your VRMs or for overclocking your computer. So these are going to be able to deliver a lot of power right here to the chip and keep it cool. There's a copper heatsink pipe right there that connects these together that's going to provide a lot of onboard cooling for the VRMs. All right, so let's take this out of this guy. All right. Center that up. Here, let's get this out of frame. All right. So what we've got here, my CPU is going to go right here. This is a cover for the CPU. I'll be taking that off. Right here, I've got 3 PCI slots, and I've also got 3 slots for my M.2 drives. I haven't really decided which M.2 slots I'm going to use because These two M.2 slots are the most, I guess, available and easiest to get to. There's one down here with the heatsink on it, but I either need to install my GPU down here or up on the first one. The first one would give me the most accessible area, but then that would cover up that M.2 slot. I may put it up here. We'll see. All right, and then I've got my RAM slots and my SATA slots. Cool. All right, so next up, I'm going to grab my cooler, my CPU cooler. That's going to be next, because if you have a third-party air cooler, you're going to need to put a mounting bracket on the back side of your CPU, or on the back side of your CPU, which is on the back side of the motherboard. So you want to do that first. Get rid of that. What's a SATA cable? Yeah. The SATA cable is just for plugging in those hard drives and solid state drives. All right, so what have we got here? So in the box, look at this bad boy. That is a big cooler. That is the ASRock 3 by Be Quiet, or ASRock 4, sorry. ASRock 4 Pro by Be Quiet, and it is a beast of a cooler. All right, and then in here I've got manuals. I actually probably need the English one. There we go. All right, and we'll get all of our bags set up. Before I start plugging things in, I'm going to make sure that I just have everything out and prepped and laid out, ready to go. All right, that's everything in that. Look at that thing, that is a beast. Be Quiet, ASRock 4. That little inside fan there. And then down at the bottom of this box, I read the parts list. I would have probably not even known this was here. I would have been able to install it without my other screwdriver, but this air cooler comes with a screwdriver. So we'll set that aside. That's going to be good for when we're screwing it down in those hard to reach screw placements. All right. So this cooler is good for AMD and Intel socket types. And for that reason, in this bag, we're going to see that we have, where'd those go? All right, I need to hold on to those clips. Those will be important later. Put those up there. All right. So in here we've got an Intel mounting bracket and an AMD. We're not going to be using the AMD one, so we'll just put that to the side. These are my M.2 slot screws. And then in here we've got probably, there's a little CPU coolant if we needed that, or Arctic compound, thermal paste, that's the name for it. So in here, this X bracket, it is always a good idea to start with the X bracket on the back of the motherboard, because you're going to be turning it over and it's going to be hard to get to if you don't do that first. It should always be the first step if you have an aftermarket air cooler. This X bracket will never go on the top side. Most big air coolers have them. And if you try and fit it like right here, your air cooler won't work. Like it's not going to sit on that side. It's going to block you from being able to get to the card, and your cooler just won't go on it. So this goes on the back. All right, so we'll be putting that on first. And I'll need to consult the manual on which slots to use. All right, and then we've got the RAM. The RAM will be going onto the front of the board. ahead and get that opened up. Right there. And the M.2 drives. So I went with two M.2 SSDs. I went with the Samsung 970 EVO for my operating system, my boot drive. And then for kind of storage and other things, games and stuff like that, I got that Intel 660p 1 terabyte M.2 NVMe. So this is going to be the fastest storage you can buy. The M.2 form factor that plugs right into the motherboard and doesn't need a power cable or a SATA cable. Let's see. It's going to go there. And that can just sit right on top of that. Okay. Don't need the instruction manual for that one. Hey, thanks, Charlie. I appreciate it. Let's see. What else do we need? What else goes on the front of the board? Don't need those. All right. Of course. How could I forget? All right, we need this, but I'm gonna probably install the chip after I get a couple of the cooling parts done. So I'm just gonna leave that over here because it takes up a little bit of space. All right, so I've got everything I need for the cooler. Probably. Let's see what I need in here. So that's going to be for if I need to get 2 fans into 1 plug, which I wonder if this is going to force me. No, these both have 2. I actually don't think I've ever used one of these. That's if your CPU has very, very limited fan controllers, but I've got plenty of them on here. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're all over the place too. 7, 8. I've got like 8 spots to plug them in. I don't need this. I have no idea what this is. This is the thermal paste that comes with the cooler. Isn't it so cute? Look at that thing. Aw, a tiny little plunger. I'm not going to use that. Oh, I do need this. That's going to be for my cooler. So that is the MX4 Arctic compound. Put that to the side as well. Let's see. These look like they're all going to get used. So I'll keep all of these out. All right. First things first is I need to get that mounting bracket on the back side of my motherboard. So let's go ahead and turn it over. And these are going to be the 4 mounting bracket holes. And let's take a look at the manual and see where those need to go. So this is for LGA 2011, 2066, that's not me. LGA 1151, okay, that's me. So on the mounting bracket, I need the standoff screws, the mounting bracket, and then O-rings. Hopefully they're in here. I'm going to assume they're in here. And they're going to go on the inner track, because this is the 1151 socket. So we're going to put them on the inner track of this mounting bracket. I'll need those in a bit. Here's the X bracket. All right, and I've got a bunch of those. So this is empty now. Don't need that. That's empty. Okay. Hopefully I've got O-rings and maybe standoffs in here. No, but I do have O-rings. It would have been smart of me to get a little silver tray for all of my screws and stuff on this one, because I have a feeling every screw that's going to come with this build is going to be a black screw, and I've got a black mat, so they're going to be hard to see. If I lose them, you can yell at me or laugh at me. Either way. What's up, Jay Griffin? Thanks for the host of one, hosting party of one. All right, so these are the O-rings that I need. This is the X bracket that's going to go right on those. What I'm going to do is go ahead and get these 4 standoffs. I'll show you what one of those looks like right up close. Yeah, a magnetic dish would have been good. That's going to go right into the inside of that mounting bracket on that first one. And then we're going to put the O-rings on each one. So actually, what I'm going to do is put each one down. I'm going to put the little O-rings right on the opening. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know if there's a good way to do this. Probably not. We're gonna try this way, and if it doesn't work, oh, that is in the way of you guys. All right, that looks like it's lined up correctly. Now, hopefully, I can just drop these 4 right in there. Oh yeah, this is gonna work. And then flip it over real quick, and then screw in the other parts. Come back here, O-ring. That one's being pesky. There we go. All right, all 4 of those are in. So that is the X bracket on the back side. Now let's see, which ones of these do I need? I'm going to install these 4 standoffs on the other side. And I don't think I need these because this is for ones that don't have an X bracket. All right, well, I think if I let go of that, I'm just holding this up with my hand. I think if I let go at all, it's just gonna all fall together. So I'm just gonna hold this up. This is probably not the best way to do it, but I'm pretty confident that my hands are clean of oil and that I have no static electricity going on. I am wearing rubber shoes, and I've grounded myself before touching any of these parts. All right, I've got all those situated. So now that X bracket right there is in place. Then I'll go ahead and tighten up these screws. Anytime you're tightening screws on a square, you want to tighten definitely not all the way down the first time you screw something in. And you want to go across in an X pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If you go around like this, this could be off center by the time you end up getting to it, and it could throw off your alignment and your, I guess, tension distribution, and it'll mess you up. I'm just going to go around a couple times to make sure everything's tight. All right, so that was step 1, mounting the back plate. Step 2 is going to be with these guys. They are for getting a little bit of lift off of the CPU. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and install these, but then wait to put my CPU in until I've got the other parts installed. So that's these guys right here. And then again on that one, that is the 1151, so I'm going to be using the inner side of those right there. Yep, just like changing a tire, when you've got all 5 or 6 of those around, you don't want to do 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. You want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across. All right. So with these, I want to install what looks like the notch going onto the inside towards the CPU. And right here, it looks like the motherboard components are out there, so I'm going to put it on the top and the bottom, and we're going to hope that works out. If not, we can just always go back and change it. All right, so there's only 4 screws left of the little ones. These 2 are probably going to be for going into the middle hole right there. I'm not going to screw that in yet. I'm just going to... Right now, until I'm sure that this is the right spot for this, I'm not going to screw it in. I'm just going to hand tighten it. If it's your first time building a computer, make sure that everything looks right just by hand tightening screws and getting them in the right place before you start cranking screws in as tight as you can get them. Because if you have to go unscrew it, putting a lot of pressure on the board, especially if you're nervous or have to keep screwing and unscrewing, if your hands slip, really the only way you can damage a motherboard is by messing up one of the top soldered parts. And if you ruin one of the solder joints, if that's what they're called, then you can cause shorting and stuff. And that can be caused by slipping of the screwdriver. So like if I screwed this in too tightly and I was unscrewing and had to apply a lot of force and I slipped and it hit something, that's really the only way to mess up a motherboard. That and shocking it with static electricity, that's always bad. All right, got that one in. Okay, so that looks right. I'm just going to go ahead and... I'm not going to put this CPU on yet because I still have these brackets here. Actually, am I going to be able to get to that? Oh, yeah. I'm actually not able to get to that very easily. I'm going to take that top bracket off and put the CPU in right now before I install that top bracket. Good thing I didn't tighten those yet. All right. So before I tighten that one, I'm going to go ahead and install the CPU. Every motherboard that I've ever seen comes with a little plastic CPU case on it that you have to remove before you install the CPU. So just go ahead and take that off. It's there to protect it. If you're worried about your motherboard getting ruined or having some type of issue with it, you need to keep this little plastic plate because the manufacturer will not take a returned motherboard unless this is on it when you ship it back. So hold on to that. It's important in case anything ever goes wrong. Don't throw that away. All right, then we're just going to open this up. So the CPU is going to go right here. Time to unbox the CPU. All right. Let's see. I have a new step for that. All right, so the CPU that I have is an i9-9900. This is basically top of the line from Intel right now. 3.6 gigahertz, 8 cores. I don't know. It's a lot of cores. And I have no idea how to unbox this. Hello. Let me in, please. Oh, there's tape. That's all right, Charlie. CPUs rarely fail. If your CPU was going to fail, you probably would have already known about it. And if not, you can probably just Google online, like, CPU case cover and buy another one for a couple pounds. They really make this thing hard to get into. Look at this. I have already taken something off and it's still... It's not letting me in. I really should have tried opening this before I went on stream. Opening the box is going to be harder than installing it. I don't want to break it. There's another piece of tape. I found it. What's up, Vigs? Oh, thanks, Charlie. It goes in half, 2 bits of tape. Okay. I should have kept an eye on where those pieces of tape were. Well. Yeah, thanks, Vigs. I think it looks great too. It was one of my favorite boards that I saw online. I'm not really into the whole RGB thing, so this one really caught my attention as like a simple board. And I bought it because it's got some of the best VRMs for overclocking. All right, there we go. I finally have the chip out of the box. That is a Core i9 9900. Tiny little thing, expensive tiny little thing. All right, a couple things are important when handling a CPU. You don't want to touch this top part because that is the cooling plate. It's okay if you touch that, better than if you touch the bottom, but I would recommend not touching that. On the bottom, you have all of these pins, those gold pins. That is where your computer gets your power from, and you do not want to touch or bend any of those pinned connectors at all. So keep your fingers off the bottom. We won't be giving away any PCs, not today. Maybe next time, in like 5 years, once I've made it as a streamer, and you guys donate all your money to me. Basically, don't touch the thing, no. So there are a couple of finger cutouts right here. We're going to be just touching the outsides of the pin, or the outsides of this green part right here. And then this little gold triangle right there, we are going to line up with, 1 second. The little triangle on the edge of the motherboard, or on the edge of the pin connectors, which is right here. Get a shot of that. So it's hard to see right there, but there is a little cutout triangle right down there on the bottom that shows you that that is the one you're going to be installing it on. I'm pretty sure. Yep, we're going to go with that. All right. So here we go. Now this doesn't take a lot of force to get in. Kind of just want to set it down, set it in there straight. Make sure that the green parts are flush with the little plastic bits on the outside, and then you're going to want your CPU bracket to do the rest of the work. So that's just going to get pushed down right in there, and then moved to the outside and locked into place. So that is good. CPU is installed. All right, see you later, Charlie. Get some sleep. Thanks for stopping by. No black spots yet. Yep. I haven't completely screwed it up yet. We've kind of just started though. All right. So now I'm going to put that mounting bracket back on the top. And that's the CPU done. So let's see. Once I get this mounting bracket installed, we'll move on to the RAM. All right. Because that was kind of getting in the way of these mounting brackets. All right, that one's good. Don't scratch the top of my CPU. And that one's good. All right. So now let's just get an idea. I think these are on correctly. I couldn't imagine that it goes across there because this is going to sit on top of this and blow air to the back of the board because the fan's on this side. And there's going to be a crossbar. Yeah, okay, that's the correct way. I'm going to have a bar that goes across here, and that's going to run across the middle of that guy right there. And so that's going to be the correct direction. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten those up a bit. Got my little magnetic screwdriver. Tighten those up a bit. Now, pretty much everything on these boards, you know what? That is too small of a bit. I think this is going to be the right bit size for all of these. Yeah, it is. You don't want to over tighten anything on this board. This PC is going to be pretty big. That is a giant PC cooler, air cooler. CPU cooler. All right, so those mounting brackets are on. All right, so we've got everything in and around the CPU done. I've got the mounting brackets, I've got the CPU installed. Now I need to be careful around this entire part of the board until I get my air cooler installed. So next up is going to be the RAM. There are a couple different RAM install possibilities. Some boards will have different colored alternating RAM slots. Some will have these little tabs on each side. Mine just has tabs on one side to pull back and install. I'll pull those up and show you guys. So this has the little things on one side, but not the other. If you are installing only 2 sticks of RAM, I've got 4 sticks, so I don't need to worry about this. But if you're only installing 2 sticks of RAM, you'll either want to install them in the 1 and the 3 slot, or the 2 and the 4 slot to get dual channel capabilities so that it'll run a bit faster. Because I've got all 4, I'm just going to plug them into each slot. There is a keyed slot for the RAM, so it's shorter on this side than it is on this side. You're just going to want to line that up with the slot right here to make sure you're installing it correctly. So pull the tabs back. If they're on just one side, then you only have to pull them back on one side. And when I first installed RAM, I've got 32 gigs of RAM. So this is, let me switch that, sorry about that. This is the Crucial Ballistix E-Die RAM. So this is going to be DDR4, 3200 megahertz. The CL timing is 16, and that's the CAS latency timing. So you want to get a really fast, well, not really fast, higher megahertz and lower timings is what you want. So like 32 megahertz at CL16 is faster than 32 megahertz, or faster than 3000 megahertz at CL16. But 3000 megahertz at CL15 is about the same as 3200 at CL16. Not 32,000, 3200. All right, so these, RAM typically requires a little bit more force than you would initially expect to get in. You're not going to break it. It's pretty sturdy. Just get one hand on each side, one finger on each side, and just push down until you hear an audible click, and that bracket comes back up into place on its own. If they have two, they'll come back up on their own, but you don't have to push it down and then never try and lock this slot. It'll lock on its own once it's in there. And if it's your first time installing RAM, you have to push down harder than you would think. All right, so we're just going to install one of these into each slot. RAM is the easiest thing to install. I love it. Look at that. Go ahead and take a look at these RAM disks. They will never be seen again behind that giant CPU cooler. I went with red ones to keep the theme of red and black, but I could have gotten neon green ones and you would never be able to tell. All right, last one. All right, that is all 4 RAM sticks into place. One of those heat sinks is a little bit off center. That's all right. It's not flush, but nobody will be able to see that. I chose Intel over Ryzen because it's got like slightly better gaming performance for single core, and it ended up being about the same price because I would have had to pay more for one of the newest generation boards if I got a Ryzen chip. It was between the 9900K and the 3700X, but I ended up going with I've always had Intels, and I don't know, I just didn't want to take the leap. There's a whole host of reasons, but when I put together my dream Intel build versus my dream AMD build and looked at them side by side, they ended up being about the same price. So I just decided to go with Intel because it's what I know, and yeah. Yeah, huge difference in performance to take a step up within Intel, or I mean within Ryzen to the 5. All right, so I've got the RAM installed. Next is going to be the SSDs. So I've got 2 M.2 SSDs and 1 hybrid or hard disk drive. And my M.2 drives are going to go in up here on this board. So I'm going to put one into this slot and then one into this slot down here. Now I may end up needing to move this because I'm not going to install an M.2 here. Yeah, we'll see. There's a riser right here for this M.2 drive, and that's where my GPU is going to go. Possibly, probably. So, we'll see. So I looked on my motherboard's configuration manual, and when I plug in M.2 drives here and here, it's going to disable these SATA ports. M.2 drives run on the same channel as your SATA SSDs, or your SATA ports. All right, so M.2, pretty easy to install. You just slide them in and push down. And this is where this little guy is going to come in handy. This screw is right for the top of that right there. Need to change drill bits. Sorry, screwdriver bits. Look at that. Having a mechanical screwdriver is the best. All right, we're going to push that down and just screw that little guy in. All right, easy as that. And then the other one, so I've got an M.2 drive right here, but I'm gonna open this one up under the heatsink and install mine under there. We can get rid of this guy. We are done with the RAM. All right, take that off. And we'll install this guy and this M.2 drive right here. All right, need one more of those M.2 screws. Let's see, Clay and ITT Tom. I need more storage. My Windows runs off an SSD. If I got a 7200 RPM hard drive for my games only, will I see a major decrease in loading time for all my games? If you install a hard disk drive, your loading time in games will go up. Yes, it is a lot faster to run games on an SSD. Now, SATA SSDs are not that much more expensive than hybrid disk drives. It's the NVMe M.2 ones that are like that next step up in performance that are going to cost a lot of money. Move the SSD under the heatsink. Yeah. So if you are doing a lot of reads and writes, your SSDs can get really hot, especially this M.2 storage without a fan on it. So a heatsink kind of just helps disperse that heat, and it hides it, keeps it from not looking as good. Just a kind of a performance thing, but mostly an aesthetic thing. What's up, Hot Drop? Ooh. I don't remember which way this was on. What looks better? 1? Or 2? No. I like that better. Ooh, that's got a little peel thing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 1. Ooh, that actually just stuck onto that SSD. I hope that's how that's supposed to work. I kind of want to open it back up now and make sure that... Am I supposed to take that off? Does that come off? No, I don't think that... Oh yeah, I'm definitely peeling that sticker off. That sticker's coming off that bad boy. Come on, come on. Cool. I should probably take the sticker off that one too. All right. Now that I know that this is sticky, I'm going to be a little more careful plopping it back down on there. All right, we have an M.2 drive heatsink. Warranty voided. Oh no. That's all right, it's gonna work. It's gonna work, I'll be fine. Also, what's up, Jared? Ooh. Thanks for stopping by. All right. SSD installed. Now, should I take that one off? I kind of wanna take that off. Oh, sorry. I call everybody by their first names. Let's see. Nah, I'll leave that one on there. I'll take it off later if I want. We're not going to be able to see it. The giant heatsink's going to be right over it. Yeah, all right, you know what? I'm not taking that one off. Cool, so SSDs are installed. So now we've got to get this giant cooler installed. And this is really the only part I'm nervous about. All right, so I have to figure out how to get this fan to stay on the inside of this cooler. And I think these clips have something to do with it. These clips earlier that I couldn't hold on to for the life of me, we're going to see if they help with this. All right. You know what? I don't think I can install that until I need to put it on there first. Because take that guy off. Because there are some things on the top that I have to screw in this long plate for. This guy. That's going to go right there and sit on top of that. All right. Next up, thermal paste. So this is the ASRock Be Quiet ASRock Pro. And it is the second best air cooler. I went with this one because it's all black, and the best one is the Noctua D15, which is kind of ugly. It's silver and brown, which does not fit my aesthetic at all. Let's see. All right, so for the CPU cooler, you always need a thermal compound between the cooler and the chip. That's gonna give you a lot of heat conductivity. And if you don't have one, you're gonna burn up your chip rather quickly. All right, so there's a couple methods of installing thermal compound or applying thermal compound. One is the spread method, where you put it on there and then you spread it all around evenly to get a clean coat on the entire surface. The other is the P method, which is what we're going to be using. We are going to do just one drop the size of a pea right in the middle and then squash it down so that it spreads. Thoughts on liquid cooling? Liquid cooling is a lot cooler looking and will keep your build a lot cleaner, but it's more expensive. It can be louder. The parts can break easier, and it doesn't have that much better cooling effect once you get up into the $80 to $100 range, which is right where we're at with this guy. This has as good cooling as the high-end all-in-one cooling systems that are not custom loops. So in the $80 to $100 price range, air cooling performs just as well as water cooling. All right. So let's see, do you lift and check or do you just pee and press on? We're going to pee and press on. So we're going to put a drop the size of about a pea in there. Let's see. Alrighty. I'll bring that up to show you guys that drop. That's about how much coolant we're going to use. All right, and then what you want to do is press down in one firm motion, flat, right on top of it. So let's see. All right, good to go on that one. So I'm going to try and leave that as straight as possible. That's not straight, is it? There we go. Oh, there. And then get that mounting bracket right here situated just across the middle of that. All right, that's lined up. Now these guys, I should have unscrewed these first. Will give us access to those. That's why we've got this long magnetic screwdriver. Look at this. What's up, Healthy Keithy? Yep, because there's the grain of rice. Yeah, the grain of rice can work. It never seems like enough to me. No, I don't have an optical drive in this case, and I don't think that it's an option. There's a flat metal front of my case, so I don't think I could use it even if I wanted to. There we go, got that side in. And then one more, going on the other side. You know what? I'm just going to turn this around so that I can see in there. There we go. We'll go at this one from the side. Oh no, I dropped it. Where did you go? Well, the magnet did not hold very well. We're just going to shake it out. There we go. Things not to do in your PC build. All right. Let's try this one more time. All right, the magnetic screw is on this time. And is it in place? Hopefully. Come on. Well, the thread is not catching on the bottom. So let's see. I probably over tightened this other one. So I'm going to loosen the other one up and see if it gives me a little bit more room. To work with, but I don't want to unthread that one at the same time. Oh, seems like did I catch the thread? I did. Okay, we're in business. Yeah, I over tightened that first one and it didn't give me enough room to catch that second bracket. So by loosening up the first one, it gave me enough space to work with. Should have taken my own advice earlier about not over tightening screws. on any single piece until you got all of them where you need them. All right. But then once you got them, you want to make sure they're good and snug, especially on the air cooler. You don't want any separation. And it's, with a big air cooler like this, you're going to have a lot of weight pulling down on your CPU, and you want to make sure they stay good and snug. All right. That is in there pretty firm. All right, so now I need these clips to get... Go ahead and screw those back in. We're done with those. This big old fan is going to go right in the middle of that cooler. Alrighty. Excellent. So I'm going to want the fan going this way. So I'm going to install the front of the fan that way. And I want the fan cord to be on the top side of the case, or of the motherboard. So that's going to be the easiest spot for plugging it in. All right, fan clips. I watched a video on how to do this, and I couldn't really tell what the dude was doing. So this is going to be a lot of guesswork. I'm just going to pray that it works. All right. Is that enough room? Oh, it's the wrong clips. Huh? I used the ones that were too big. Okay. Coming back out. Where are those other ones? Those are too big. That's not going to work. I heard that Hot Drop just tosses the parts on the ground and uses jumper cables. Lol. All right, so these are going to go... All right, so that was the right format. I just needed shorter guys. So those look a lot better. I didn't use these right off the bat because they didn't look big enough, but I think they're going to be. Ow. That hurt. The things we do for love. Snapping fans onto your CPU cooler. All right. Whew. So now we got the CPU cooler on, got the fan plugs. That should be everything for the motherboard. So we've got the two SSDs, one in the first slot for M.2, one in the second slot for M.2. We've got all of our RAM installed under here. This may be the last time you ever see the RAM. Say goodbye to the RAM. Bye-bye, RAM. Got the air cooler on. Before I plug this into the case, on pretty much every motherboard, there's going to be an 8-pin connector. Mine's an 8 plus 4 pin connector. This is going to power the CPU. See if we can get a look at that. It's a little dark down there. Right there, that guy. That is the absolute hardest plug to get to once your motherboard is in the case. So what I'm going to do for that one is, once I got the PSU opened, I'm going to go ahead and plug that in and then thread it through the case. I'm going to plug it in here first and then thread it through the case, instead of trying to thread it through the case and then plug it in. So we'll get to that in a bit, but that's just one thing to keep in mind, is how you're going to get to each one of these plugs once you have it in the case. So this is kind of the first part completed. The the three parts that we were going to do when building the computer was get the motherboard assembled, then get the case assembled, and then get all of it put together. So we're going to put the motherboard aside for a bit, and then we're just going to work on the case. So while we do that, I'm going to move the motherboard off of this table, and we're just going to work on the case. All right, and then I'm going to just put it on top of the cardboard box that it came in and the anti-static shield, so that nothing gets ruined over there. All right. Next up, unboxing and prepping the case. Got the IO shield from earlier. That's gonna come in handy. All right, we can get rid of this. Well, not get rid of this. We're gonna hold on to that in case the motherboard's wrong. This is the screw to for the other M.2 drive. I am never going to use that because I would have to uninstall my GPU to use that screw, so I can just throw that away. Got my CPU coolant. I'm going to hold on to this in case my thermals are just awful and I need to reseat my air cooler, because I was jostling it around a bit. So I'm going to hold on to that. And then everything else over here can go straight into the garbage. IO shield, we're going to need that in a bit. All right, case time. All right, so I've got the not M.2, I've got the NZXT H500 mid-tower case. See you later, Keith. Have fun at work, man. I don't know the best way to show this. Will it come out of the box like this? Let's hope so. Here we go. Yeah, absolutely, Jay Griffin. I am going to upload this entire video to YouTube once it's done. So, and I'll probably put timestamps on it so that you can skip around and you can figure out right where you left off and come back to the case unboxing. So I went with this case not because it's the best performing case, or it's the biggest case, or it's the easiest to build in. I went with this case because I love the way it looks. It is a matte black finish on the outside with a tempered glass panel and is red and black. I just think it looks super clean. All right. There we go. So I'm going to take off the tempered glass front piece, and I'm going to set that aside for the rest of the build. Right up there where nobody will bother it. All right. So first things first, I am going to uninstall these two case fans because I have my own case fans. I bought these Be Quiet Pure Wings 2. They're 120 millimeter case fans, and they're going to be much quieter and more effective than the NZXT case fans that don't have a way to control the fan speed, and they're a little bit louder. So I'm going to put those in there. I am going to get my power supply out because that's going to go in the back of the case. I'm going to go ahead and prep everything that I need for the case before I start working in it. So I've got my I/O shield. I'm going to get my power supply out. Power supply I'm using is the Dark Power Pro 11, 850 watts. Platinum, 80 plus platinum. This is going to be one of the highest tier power supplies you can get. It's semi-modular, so the only cable coming out of it is going to be the motherboard panel, and then everything else is going to be as an on-needed basis. So things to do before you start unpacking your power supply are figure out how many VGA cables you need, how many CPU cables you need, and how many SATA cables you need for the power supply. All right, so I'm going to need 2 VGA cables for the video card that I use. I'm going to need 2 CPU cables and 1 motherboard cable, and then 1 SATA cable for the hard drive on the back. So that's going to be these guys right here. A power cord. Don't need those, I don't think. There's some cable management stuff in there. We might use those in a bit. And then the power supply. There it is. All right. That's going to be everything we need for the power supply. I'm going to set these aside actually for just a second, but they are unboxed and ready to go for when we need them. And let's go ahead and take a look at the back of the case and see what we're working with on the cable side. A lot of cases will hide their all of their screws and cable components right here in the back panel that's hidden. Ooh, that's a hinge instead of a slide. I like that. Makes it easy to build in. That'll be good for when we're trying to close it with all the cable management. In total, all of it was about $2,200. All right, so this is all of the front panel connectors. Got some good cable management routes up here, some openings for cable management, and some tie downs right around here. These are going to be the front cable connectors. Let's see which ones these we need. Probably all of them. Let's see. So this is the F panel. Oh, that's nice. They're not all little front pins, look. F panel. I don't know if you can read that. Nope, it's too blurry. Anyways, that is all in one for the front panel, so I don't need to mess around with the little single individual plugs. That's going to be nice. Yeah, that's all before that's for the tower only. That was $2,200 for the tower only. And then I spent a little bit more on my monitor and mouse pad and mouse and headphones, and yeah, it adds up. That is going to be the USB 3.0 plug, and then HD audio. We're going to need all of that. Ooh, what have we got here? Down here, this is the power supply shroud. So that's where my PSU is going to be, and then we're going to shove a whole bunch of cables for cable management right here. And then this is where you install, this is the hard disk drive, hard disk space. So we're going to put the 3.5 inch, 1 terabyte WD blue hard drive right there. Let's see. Nice, we got zip ties for cable management. Probably a whole bunch of screws that we're going to need for the case and motherboard. Standoff, cool. We're going to need all of those. manual in case I need it. Let's see. These are fan plugs for the fans that I'm not going to use. So let's go ahead and take those out. All right. Oof. Cable tie downs everywhere. I love it. This case is going to make cable management a breeze. If I do something like this, I'll save up for that first, then use it later. Yeah, that's a good idea. Get as much performance out of your tower as you can. These two, so these are for 2.5 inch SSDs, and I was using M.2 drives that are about the size of flash memory sticks. So they would not fit in here, and they need to be plugged right into the motherboard. My hard drive is going to be a 3.5 inch form factor. Yeah, I've got a 3.5 inch. It wouldn't fit in those, so I'm going to be using the WD Blue 3.5 inch. It's not an SSD, but it was cheap and it was a lot of storage. All right, so let's take these guys out. Going back over to the front. Well, you know what? While we're here, we could probably go ahead and get the power supply installed. No, because I don't know which... No, let's take the case fans out first, because I don't want to be flipping and flipping back over with the power supply. It'll make it a lot heavier. All right, we're going to go back to the front of the case. I wonder if this screwdriver, that was a handy little air cooling screwdriver, if this works for all these. Oh yeah, that works well. All right, I'm just going to hold on to these screws because they should be standard. And put my fans in instead. These are big threaded hex screws for screwing into plastic. WD Black 4 terabyte. Wow, that is a nice hard drive. It's a lot of storage. All right, last one. Catch the fan. All right, fan one uninstalled. Let's see if we can just pull that cord right out. All right, fan one gone. Fan two. Can you see that? Focus, focus. Come on, camera. I need you to keep your head in the game. Let's go. Man, I like this screwdriver a lot better than mine. Get some torque with this thing. So I've decided that instead of putting my two case fans that I bought on the front and having a 4-fan setup, I've read online in many places that this case is better with a negative airflow pressure, which means I'm going to have 2 exhaust fans and no intake fans, and it is just going to pull air in on its own without having a fan actively do it, which should keep my GPU temps lower. And because This is a restrictive airflow case. I want to focus on keeping my GPU cold because I've got such a good cooler on my CPU. All right. Now let's get my fans installed. So this fan came with 4 screws in case I was installing it somewhere that didn't already have case screws. So let's see, I built mine tomorrow mainly, so I should have to swap the GPU and RAM maybe. Be careful with that. A lot of times you want to make sure that your motherboard that you build is compatible with the RAM that you want to upgrade to. Currently we're on DDR4 RAM, and if they end up getting RAM that's DDR5, which currently exists, you may have RAM outdated in the next 3 to 5 years, but just upgrading RAM, you can run into problems. Because if your RAM is not compatible with your motherboard, then you got to upgrade motherboards. And if you upgrade motherboards, you got to upgrade CPU. So those 3 pretty much always go in tandem. You want your CPU, RAM, and motherboard all to be about the same in quality. Because if they're not, when you upgrade one, you got to upgrade all of them. They kind of come together. They're not plug and play. So CPU, motherboard, and RAM all need to be upgraded at the same time, pretty much. Unless you're just going to a higher capacity. And then you could just plug in a couple more 6 and it would be fine. Man, these plugs are not cooperating. All right, guys. You know what? There we go. I should have just started with that. Where did that screw go? I don't see it. Aha! And last one. So again, I didn't tighten those first 2 screws all the way in because you would possibly run out of space for this last one if you over tightened them. Because it would kind of warp the fan into not letting you get to that other one. All right. Stop shaking. I'll go back and just tighten the rest of them. Alrighty. And then for the ones on the top, now on this one, I want to make sure that this plug is going out right where I want it to be, which is going to be this side. So that's what I'm going to make sure I do. It's going to go there. This will let me hand tighten that. It would be great. No, it's not going to let me. These hex screws screwing into plastic are really tough to get started just with your hand. Kind of just drop it into place and then make sure that you can do the rest with the screwdriver. All right, so I've got the first two holding it into place right there. That'll let me get the other two in. Alrighty. Excellent. So this fan kind of looks a little small in this opening. That's because this opening on the top supports a 140 millimeter fan, and I've just got a couple of 120 millimeter fans. Because I didn't know whether I was going to be using them on the front or the backs of this case, so I got 120 millimeters so that all of the fans would be compatible everywhere. Both of these are going to be shooting out. I've got 4 case fan options on this case. I've got 2 intake and 2 outtake, 2 exhaust. The 2 exhaust fans, one is on the back and one is on the top. And I'll show you right here. So in this case, we've got 2 fan exhaust options. 1 and 2. And then 2 fan intake options, 1 and 2. I'm going to leave these empty because I'm going to go for a negative pressure setup. So these are going to be pulling all of the air out of the case, and then air is just going to come into the case on its own, the cool air, instead of having it blow air back. Because in this case, because there's not great airflow, if you have case fans blowing this way, what it'll do is it'll push this hot air kind of back onto itself and kind of create a loop right here between the top of the GPU and the bottom of the GPU, and it's gonna keep that warm air circulating instead of just going out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have this big CPU cooler right here, and it's gonna be pushing air that way and that way, and it's all gonna go out the back and out the top. And the air is going to just have to backfill on its own instead of creating a little circular environment for it. All right, so we're going to take these fans and go right through the top of there. Do a little bit of cable management on the back. All right. We'll go back over to the back and make sure that we can get those pulled in. Alrighty, and then we will probably be taking these case fans either to the bottom of the motherboard or somewhere else. We've got a couple of case fan options in the top. I may end up routing one of these back up to the top for the case fan, but well, let's actually go ahead and see, because I've got 2 case fans and I've got 2 CPU fans, so that's 4 that I need to plug in. Okay, so I've got 2 on the bottom of the case, which these should be able to reach. If I go like that. And then 2 up top. We'll see. I'm not going to plug them in now. We're going to take a wait and see approach to these, because I'll be able to get them back out up there if I need to. All right, and then these all need to go. This one needs to come out. This is the front panel, so it needs to come out the bottom, because the front panel connector is always on the bottom of a motherboard, and so is the HD audio. The USBs, those, you can't see that. So those are both going out the bottom. I took the HD audio and the front panel. Those are going out the bottom right here, which will be at the bottom of the motherboard. And then this guy is going to be the USB-C or USB 3.0, and it's going to go out the middle. So we can just leave that kind of right there. Okay. Next up is the, okay, so the case is set. Case fans and everything. Oh, I actually had a case fans option. Hey, there they are. All right, but we are done with the case fans now. They are installed. we are on to the hybrid disk drive or hard disk drive. So that's going to go in here. Most hard disk drive or HDD or hard drive cases, like shrouds, are going to come out of the case. What we're going to do here is take this out and install the drive onto the middle of it, because I can't get to all of the pin placements right there. Let's go ahead and uninstall this, take it out. You guys see the bottom of that. Now, you'll be able to see once I take it out. I'm just unscrewing these. All right. So we're going to take this guy and get the hard drive installed into that. Okay, so here's my hard drive. The case should have all of the screws for your hard drive. So these 6 mounting ones are going to be where we install the hard drive. Hot drop dive. Could be, I don't know. All right, let's see. Don't think I need that front panel connector. All right, so I've got a couple of, this says standoff. It's probably not that. M3 flat. That's probably the hard drive ones. KB, those are hex screws. Those are for case fans. There's 8 of them. It's got to be case fans. We don't need that. 632 screw flat. Those look like motherboard screws just based on the sides. I'm going to keep those, but not for this right here. 632 hexagon. There's 4 of them, so that's probably going to be for the PSU. We'll hold on to those. And then a whole bunch of cable ties. That's going to be good for cable management. Look at those guys. Sweet. We will save those for later, which means we don't need these for cable management. I like zip ties a lot better than Velcro ties. May end up needing that for the PSU, but I'll come back to it if I need it. All right. So let's hope that these are the correct ones. And if not, we can change them. Hard drives, as long as you don't shake them and get the disk messed up on the magnetic reader, you should be fine. If the disk is uncovered, you don't want to touch the magnetic disk, but this one comes with a shroud, so it's fine. This you probably don't want to touch, but it's not that big of a deal. Down here, we've got our power and our SATA cable. So we'll be installing power and SATA to that. Don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is. Maybe it's an old legacy connector. I've never used one. All right. So we're going to want to install this so that we can get to it from the back. So open side is going to go here. That means our connectors we're going to want to keep here. Right. So those are in. Let's see. Okay, so right here I have 6 holes, and I want to, you may be tempted when you're building to only do 2 here and 2 on the other side, or 1 on each, because it seems pretty sturdy, but these have a lot of moving parts in them. You want to make sure that you tie down or screw in all of these as tight as possible, because hard disks can get loud. What did I say I was going to use for these? M3 flats. Let's try those. These are pretty small. This is where I wish I had like a little screw bucket. See, I need 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the rest of them can go back in that bag. Leave those right there. M3 flat. Back in the bag you go. I could get a small bowl, but I've made my bed. That's not going to work for that. We need these guys. Actually, I may need a bigger bit. I've got a bit in between the smaller one and... Oh yeah, that's going to do the trick. Look at that. Perfect. And that guy's magnetic. Okay. All right, I'm going to screw one in loosely there, actually. I think that may even be too small as well. Let's see if this one works better. Oh yeah, that's good. All right, so I'm gonna screw one in on this side, kind of loosely, and then make sure that I've still got visibility on this side. And then I'll go back to the other side because I don't want to screw in all three on that side and then not be able to reach the threads on this guy right here. Go ahead and get these other two into place. Now I'm not putting these two outside ones in very tight yet either, just because I want to make sure that I can reach all of the threads on each one. I've already not listened to my advice once on that and it messed me up. So here we go. It is tedious putting 6 screws into a hard disk. I know it is, but you just should probably do it. Keep it firm in there, keep it sturdy. You don't want this thing rotating 7,200 times a minute and causing a lot of ruckus. Yeah, they really are. Everything else is going to be flashed, right? It's not going to be moving parts. All right, that is good to go. Very secure, V-secure. And let's see. Can I show you guys this? I can, but not very easily. I'm actually gonna, you know what? Let's do it like this. Let's do there. All right. Now I am putting this as far over as I can to give myself as much room as possible for my power supply cables. If it'll go in. You know what? That's not going to work. You guys don't need to see that part anyways. 1 second. We're going back over this way. And you'll just have to trust me that I'm screwing that in on this side. All right. I really like these movable and modular cases for installing these hard drives because they give you the flexibility that if you don't have a 3.5-inch hard drive, you can just take it out of the case completely and have more room for whatever you want to put there. But they can be kind of a pain to get in and out. Trade-offs, I guess. All right, hard drive is installed. We haven't given it power yet, but it is ready to go. So next up on the list is going to be the power supply. And before I install the power supply, I'm going to think about cable management. Where is everything going? What do I need to get power to? And what cables are going to get me there? So on my motherboard, I have an 8-pin plus 4-pin and a 24-pin that are going to go to the motherboard for power. And then I have a GPU that's going to take 2 6-pins. Well, one 8-pin and one 6-pin. So I need one of those. And then I need SATA power right here. My power supply is semi-modular and gives me an automatic out for the motherboard, which is going to be that 24-pin. And then these are 2 CPU connectors. And then these are going to be my GPU connectors. And then these are going to be all of my SATA connectors. And then these for fans, but I don't really know what types of fans those are for. They may be like cooler fans, but I've never seen a fan plug-in like that. So you know what? If I ever run across it, I'll know where to plug them in. But I've only ever seen motherboard fans, not PSU fans. So, oh well. This guy. So before I install this, I want to go ahead and plug everything in that I'm going to need. So let's get I say I need 2 CPU fans. So those are going to be the 10-pin guys. Here's one. And here's one. So these guys on one side have the 10 pins that are going to go into the power supply. And then the 8 pins that are going to go into the motherboard. Now, on these, what I want to do is, let's see. I kind of want to plug these into the motherboard before I plug these into the power supply, because getting them into the back is going to be really tough. All right, guys, I'll see you later. So let's see. I'm going to put in these to the motherboard first and then plug them into this afterwards. So those are going to be the exception. I'm not going to plug these in yet. I am, however, going to go ahead and plug in the GPU ones and the drives because those are going to be harder to get to once this is seated in here. So I need 1 disk drive. And this is actually just 1 VGA cable. So that's going to be my 1 10-pin or 12-pin VGA. or PCIe, and then it has two 8-pin connectors on the sides. Let's go ahead and plug this guy in. You want to press down until that clamp clicks, which I think it may have already done. Nope, there it goes. There's an audible click on that one. Okay, so that's all I'm going to install right now. Let's go ahead and get this into the case. Whew. All right. So the screws for the power supply should be with the case and not with the power supply unit itself. That's going to be these 4 guys right here. These ones that say screw hexagon, they have a bigger head that will hold on to the back of the case better and keep that power supply in place. So let's go ahead and get those installed. The power supply has a fan in it as well, so you want to make sure that these are tied in, screwed in pretty tight, because the power supply can get loud as well. Especially under load, it's going to be pumping that fan out a lot faster. Ooh, there's not much to see on this one. Bad camera angle, but let's see. One more. All right, power supply is installed. So let's go see what we're working with. All right, so power supply is installed. I've got room in this shroud down here for some power supply cables, which let's see, we'll be feeding a little bit of these into. I don't really know where that's going to go yet, but definitely this guy will go into there. All right, so let's go ahead and plug in on the back side everything we need to, which is going to be this SATA cable for the power. And then once we got this one plugged in, we only need one of these. So we're just going to tuck that right in behind the hard drive so that nobody can see it and nobody knows it exists. Let's just get rid of you right down there. All right. So that's taking up as little space as possible and still has everything connected. So that's just kind of hiding back in there. All right, so with these guys, because I'm going for a red and black look, I went ahead and bought some cable extenders, or sleeved cables. These guys, that are going to plug onto the ends of these. So this is going to be for the power supply, the motherboard one, and then these are going to be for the graphics card. And I'll plug those in later once I get set those over here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and actually, you know what? I need to go ahead and route these to where I want them to go. before I plug in the motherboard and get everything kind of in the right spot. That's going to go there. That's correct. This guy, actually, no, you know what? I'm gonna wait because I want to make sure that I know where everything's going before I do that. So let's see. PSU is installed. No, I'm gonna go ahead and put the cable extenders on. Because I want to go ahead and get everything kind of routed towards where it should be before I install the motherboard, so that I'm not flipping it back and over while the motherboard is sitting in there just waiting for stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. Already took those out. All right. So we've got this guy. The cable extenders are not going to plug. If you get cable extenders, they are not going to plug straight into the PSU. They're going to plug into the ends of your cords. So see how this part is pins, and then this part is a sleeve. So you've got two different ends. So this guy is going to plug into that side until it clicks, and then one more. There. There we go. And I know that I'm going to want this guy going in up here. There we go. And then these are going to be the GPU ones. I've got a 4-pin. Some cable management is easier to do before you plug your motherboard in. Some is easier to do after. It doesn't matter too much which order you do it in. But if you've got a good spot to kind of leave your cables and you already know where they're going, it's a good idea to just go ahead and get them close to where they need to be before you start putting your motherboard in. There we go. Last guy, that is going to be a 3-piece for this motherboard, or for this graphics card. There we go. Send those both out to the front. Come on now. We'll send them out together, right through that. That might be easier to grab from the other side. Okay, well, here we go. Got everything kind of where it needs to go. There is one done. Got one of these guys for the power supply, or for the GPU. And then we just need to wrangle the other guy up. All right. There we go. So most of the cables are where they need to be. We've got the front panel connectors coming out the bottom. We've got the GPU ones coming out the bottom, and we've got the side piece of the motherboard coming out this side. This actually may need to be flipped around. That's okay. Well, you know what? So this notch, because I want this to stay flat, I need to go ahead and make sure that this notch is going to be on the right side. So let's check the motherboard. That is going to be on the right side, so that's good. Alrighty. I actually want those cable combs to be on the other side, so I can I'll go ahead and install it like this, and then I'll just change those around to the other side later. Or you know what, I could probably just take those off. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take them off because I don't think they look good on this side. Cable combs are nice for keeping your cables pretty, but sometimes they just don't look how you want them to. Alrighty. So now we are ready for the motherboard. So the motherboard is going to go onto these different standoffs here. This one has 9 of them located around the board. And before you put in the motherboard, you're going to need to put in the I/O shield. That's this guy. And that is going to go into the hole on the back side of your case, like that. So let's go ahead. Motherboard installation. Here we go. Yep, here comes the weight. That big old fan. With I/O shields, sometimes they can be pretty finicky to get into your case. They come with the motherboard and not the case. These are kind of cut just to the specs that an I/O shield is supposed to fit, but sometimes they don't fit that snugly, or they'll fit snugly, but sometimes they're just a kind of a pain to get in. You're pretty much always going to have your kind of audio circles at the bottom of your case and your USBs near the top. Definitely if you have any Wi-Fi sticks like those, they're going to be up near the top as well. Alrighty. These are always a pain to get in. They never seem to want to fit correctly because they have to fit so tightly. They just don't want to go in. All right, bud. There's one side, 2 sides, 3, and can we get a 4th? Nope. There we go. All right. That, I think, is going to be as good as we can get it. All right, so now I'm going to want to push in the motherboard to line up with all of these holes. And that's going to kind of be my guiding kind of source for where I want to put the motherboard. All right, let's see if we can shove all of these cables into this shroud so that it stays flat when I flip it back over. And we're back down, mostly flat. Okay. Now it's time to get that motherboard in there. In the middle, some boards come with like a little standoff that doesn't have a screw hole in it. And that's going to be used for kind of setting your motherboard on so that it has somewhere to rest before you start screwing in other things. So if you've got a little guide there, you don't need to put a screw on that one, but that should be the first one you're aiming for. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of try and tilt the motherboard in so that it lines up with the I/O panel and make sure that I'm hitting this middle standoff. But first, because I know that the top cords are almost impossible to plug in, once I've got this down here, my fingers won't fit in there, I'm going to go ahead and install these guys on my motherboard. Here we go. This is the ones I was talking about. We're gonna get these guys plugged in. I don't even know that you'll be able to see them. Right there. There they go. That would be really hard to get to. All right. So this is going to be a 4+8 pin connector. I'm going to plug in the 8 first until you hear the click, and then a 4-pin connector. This isn't even easy to do outside of the case. Come on. There we go. Nice and deep black. All right, those are installed. Now I'm going to try and feed those cables to the back of the case while I'm putting it in, which should make it easier for the cable management. All right, come back over here with this guy. Wow, this thing is heavy. Okay. That's... yikes. You are not supposed to hold your motherboard by the CPU cooler, but I don't think I could handle this with one hand without that. Actually, you know what? I can't even get those right now. These need to be farther out of the way. Those are going to get pushed back down in there. All right, and then I wonder if I can... Those might be far enough out of the way this time. Okay. Here we go. Attempt number 2. That thing, oh boy, that is pretty heavy. A, I don't want to break it, and B, I don't want to, like, I don't want to break it, and B, I want to make sure it gets in correctly, so. All right, IO shield going in there. Gonna hit, so I gotta get the IO stuff in correctly. And then, should I take this case fan off? Like, I don't want to take the case fans off for an easier install. No, I'm gonna try one more time. We're gonna try one more time. We're gonna get this. All right. Here we go. Attempt number 2. 2 hands this time. Actually, we're just going back down to 1 hand. There we go. I got on the other side of the GPU mounts. pesky cord up there. Are we lined up with the I/O? Kind of. Are we lined up with the mounting bracket on the middle? Somewhat. Yes. Okay. Whew. I got it. The motherboard wrap on the stands and then slid it out after I had the motherboard down in place. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could do that. All right. So I had the bright idea of plugging these in first, but I'm not. Okay, yeah, I'll be able to thread those through. He says confidently. Okay, let's get this motherboard tied down. Are all of those screws in place? Yeah, it looks like it. Okay. So these are going to be the 6x32 flat screws. And I am going to use... Well, let's see if this long screwdriver works. It may not fit these guys. Yeah, it actually fits it okay. So here we go. This long screwdriver that came with the PSU is really coming in handy. That is neat. All right, I need 9 of them. That was 1. 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Pretty sure there are 9. Now these are ones that I'm not tightening all the way either, because you definitely don't want to over tighten these and not be able to reach, because then you're going to be trying to squeeze your motherboard into place, and that's no bueno. All right, I cannot see at all into that top left part. There is a screw down there that I need to get to, though. Let's see if we can come this way a bit. And I'm gonna block the camera for a second because it's the only way I can see down there. Nope, I can't see it. I need to set up my computer or my phone camera. Here we go. Is that gonna be enough light? Might be able to just rest that on the CPU cooler. Hey, there we go. Okay. We have light. Man, could you imagine installing a CPU screw or a motherboard screw before we had cell phones? That'd be awful. Trying to work on a computer like this in the dark before electricity? Oof. That would be the worst. You have to deal with the sunlight only? Nah, fam. It'd be rough. Let's see. I think I gotta reposition the motherboard a little bit. Go over just a smidge. Come on. All right, I'm like 80% sure that's screwed in properly. So we're gonna leave it and move on. Oh, I gotta turn that light off. Okay. Motherboard screws are the most likely to get lost down behind the motherboard. If you ever drop a screw behind the motherboard, you need to shake it out, go get it, and not just leave it there, because... And go ahead and go get it immediately so you don't forget about it, because it can connect with metal the back connectors of your motherboard to the case, which cannot be grounded, and you can short out your motherboard, which ideally would not kill your motherboard and just shut off your computer, but has the potential to fry your motherboard and other parts inside of it. So definitely go get any lost screws while screwing in the motherboard. They can be dangerous. Oh, I don't have a standoff for that one. Okay, I only need 8 then. I thought there was going to be 9, but there's only 8. Oh, that first one that I didn't tighten all the way just popped out. That's not good, but I got it. Magnetic tip screwdrivers. Very important for building a computer. All right, that one's getting screwed down all the way this time. All right, this is the last one, I think, unless I'm missing one. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7. Oh, there's another one. That one's not going to be easy to get to either. Sundials and PC building. Does not sound like it goes together, Tom. I don't believe you. It's outrageous. That claim is preposterous. Well, that's only halfway screwed in. Oh, that one doesn't actually screw in. Is there a standoff there? Oh, well, I don't think so. I think we're in pretty good shape. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to leave that how it is and go back through and tighten up all of the rest of them. Make sure they're all in good. It's in there pretty good. That guy is... Oh, nope. Now he's in there pretty good. One last check on this dude up here. I still can't see him. He's fine. He's fine. All right. Motherboard is installed. Now that case is pretty heavy. All right. So now let's get all these wires back here plugged in before we move to the GPU. Let's get a little... Is that more light? Yeah, that's a little bit more light. Cool. Sun's starting to go down. All right. We need the front panel connectors, the HD audio connectors, which is over here. And then we need something to do with all the fans. Let's go ahead and get one of these fans plugged in. Probably the hardest to get to. Let's see. It would have been smart to plug these fans in before I put them into the CPU socket. I need that flashlight again. Okay, so the notch is on this side. And I need that bad boy. Come down here and then straight up. Cable management is probably the hardest part of any CPU build, to do it correctly at least. Well, let's go ahead and move this on to doing a little bit of cable management right there. All right. This is one pesky little cable. I should have plugged these in before I put my motherboard in. That would have been smart. Hey, we did it. All right. That one is taken care of. I'm just going to push that cable back there. Alrighty. And then that one's going in. Cool. Push the cable back into the shroud. All right, so that's both of the CPU fans. And now let's get these guys, which are the CPU cables, to go up through that top part of the case, back with the fans. And we're going to try and get those fans cables down somewhere else on the board. There's that first one coming through. That was a lot easier than trying to get down there and plug in that CPU plug. And we'll send that second one right through the same hole behind it. Come on out. There we go. All right. That's looking pretty slick. I need these two cables to come through right there, just so that they're out of the way. That's those two dealt with. Perfect. All right. Let's see if we can get all of our cables routed to the correct spot now from the back. So we need now that we've got the motherboard in place, it's going to be important to get everything to the right spot. So here, set it down and show you what I'm working with. So these need to go to the PSU. We'll take care of those in a second. These need to find a home somewhere on the board. There are 2 fan connectors. They're going to be my last 2 fan connectors that I need to find a home for. This guy needs to go out to the middle because that's where the... Actually, can I wrap that around? I'm going to wrap that around and then send him out right there. And then worry about tying him down later. This guy needs to come out the middle and up and around still. And then these 2 need to go back out the bottom. HD audio was on this side. And front panel connector was on that side. Okay? And then these fans, let's send 1 fan out. Which one was that? Let's send 1 fan out this way. And 1 fan out the bottom, and just pray that we have enough room out the bottom. Otherwise, I've got to uninstall that fan and put it somewhere else. Which is not the end of the world. I'm going to go ahead and install these 2 PC connectors into the power supply, if I can get down there. So the clip is on the bottom. Get this big old boy out of the way. That one's done. And then we'll grab this one and go the same way with it. As obtuse as this is, it's probably easier than getting past that giant CPU fan block to get them installed in that top right corner. All right, those are in good. So we'll worry about dealing with those in a bit. For the cable management side, I need a SATA connector for this guy to go to the motherboard. That's where we're going to use a little red one. We'll send this guy up to the motherboard through there. Is that going to be long enough? I don't know that that's going to be long enough. I've got a longer one. That guy will definitely be long enough. All right, look at that boy. Ooh, he long. Okay. One side SATA connector. The other guy's going to go through there somewhere, and then we'll deal with it. All right, so that is pretty much everything Now let's just get back to the other side. We should be able to plug everything in and then make it look pretty. Okay, so these don't look very pretty, but I gave myself enough slack so that I can plug them in and then I can thread back through all the extra slack that I'm not needing. So here is the USB-C or USB 3.0. That is a notched connector and it's gonna just get plugged in right there. Is that on all the right pins? Feels like it. Yeah, felt like all those pins were right. Could just put it right there. Yeah, that's what we'll do. That guy's installed right there. And then the big boy, this guy's gonna go right here. With these 24 pin connectors, they require quite a bit of force to get them in. You want to make sure they go all the way down until that clip clicks though. There we go, I felt it click. And then just make sure that it's flush right along the edge. Alrighty. And then we will get the front panel connector plugged in. Quite possibly the easiest front panel plug I've ever seen. All of those are together instead of separated. Let's see, there was an extra fan clip somewhere that I wanted to get to with this guy. And I'm thinking that it was this one. Or, I wonder if I could go to the bottom with both of those. Those are pretty close. No, I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to go ahead and plug that one in right there. And if I end up hating that configuration, I'll just take the motherboard out and redo it. This CPU cooler is a beast to work around. That one's in. HD audio. That one's going in down and right at the bottom. Alrighty. And then this SATA cable that's going to get plugged into M.2.3. want to make sure that's coming in at the right spot. Yeah, man, it's moving right along. I actually do think that my other SATA cable is going to be long enough, so I'm going to use the little guy instead. There we go. And that's going to come right out on that side. And we'll be able to use that short bar to get him plugged in right there. That notch is bottom left side. So I need that notch from the SATA connector to also go on the bottom left side. There we go. Okay, so now let's get all of these kind of at the length that I want by pulling them out the back. Well, you'll be able to see me pushing them out the back from the top. That's that front panel. That's that HD audio coming out the back. And then I had one more fan clip. Yeah, there it goes. That I need to plug in somewhere down here. There we go. All right, and I've just got barely enough room for that guy. It's going to be a tight fit, but it's going to work out. All right, so now I've got everything plugged in. I'm a little annoyed that this cable is here, but it's really the only thing I sacrificed. It's going right across the RAM right there, but I may be able to tuck it down somewhere. That doesn't look much better, but oh well, it is what it is. I can live with that tiny little wire coming out. Okay. These two are going to be for the graphics card, which is the last thing I have left to install. So let's go ahead and move on to the graphics card. I've got the NVIDIA, or the EVGA 2080 current gen RTX 2080 Super, which is their second best model. Currently the best is the 2080 Ti, but this guy's pretty strong and I think is going to fulfill my needs. Bumper sticker. Cool. So that everybody can know I've got an EVGA Super card. How do you get this thing out of the phone? Come on, man. All right, so I'm going to leave this here for a second. And I need to take off some of these back plate connectors so that I can get to the PCI slot where I need to be installing these. Most current GPUs take up 2 of these, So you're going to want to take off the one right below that PCI slot and two below it. So this top slot right here is for this tiny little PCI port. We're not going to use that. We're going to use this guy, this big long one. So that's going to be the second bracket and the third bracket. So, let's see, you can't really see it that well, but I've got like a little shield over here for it on the back side that's protecting those from just falling out. And this is kind of to support the big heavy graphics cards that we're throwing in there. It's going to be like a little support bracket shield thing. All right. And then we're going to unplug or unscrew these two, the second and the third one, and we're going to hang on to the screws because we're going to screw that back in once the GPU is installed. So hang on to both of those. That one there. And that guy there. And we'll take both of these out. We don't need them anymore. And now we are ready for the GPU. Let's just unhook that right there. Come on. Open up. Or is it already open? Oh, it is. It's opened up. Got a couple clips on these PCI slots. Make sure that's unhooked. Pretty much every GPU is going to be installed face down so that the fans are blowing air from the bottom of the case towards the top, because you want air going right to left and bottom to top. Ooh, look at that. Oh yeah. So these pins are going to be keyed. Just make sure that you've got two pins. You've got a short and a long one. That's going to be the ones with the gold brackets. These two are just for locking it into place and don't actually go into a slot. They're going to be on the outside. That is it. Okay, so let's see. Oh. Oop. All right, so I lined that up and I stuck it down in there until that clip on the right side clipped into place. And now I'm gonna screw both of these little guys right back in on the outside of this. And this is pretty much the hold it in place bracket. Some GPUs, you'll have a support bracket right here that'll go along the bottom, holding it in place. That's really only if you get one of those fat boy cards that takes up like, one of those thick ones, takes up like 3 slots. These support brackets in the back are pretty much all you need. Make sure you get these screwed in pretty tight. All right, then we're gonna get that shield back on there. I don't remember which way that went in. Oh, that feels right. Nope. No, it doesn't. That's definitely not right. How many ways can this possibly go in that I can be getting it wrong on every one? Hello? I should have looked at how this came off. Hey, that feels right. Okay. Sorry about that. It's like when you try USB. I had it right the first time, but I still missed. It's like trying a USB 3 ways, and it doesn't go in correctly until the third try. That's what just happened on the back side over here. All right. Let's get that screwed in. All right. Then these guys will be plugged in to their respective homes on the graphics card. All right, and that, I'm gonna probably do some cable clips right there, some cable combs, just like that, so that they stay together, that's nice and tight looking. But I think that is about it. Let's do some cable management on the backside. Again, more cable management. Because everything we need on the front side, from the SATA to the front panel connectors to the power, is all good. And we got all of our fans plugged in. There were 4 of them. Those were a little bit tricky, but we got there in the end. All right, so now we need to manage these cables a bit. And this is a mess. All right, so let's use some of these tie downs to make sure that everything is looking good. We've got some zip ties for that. So these guys are gonna go down below here. That big one go in first, yes. Oh, come on, zip tie. What's the matter with you? All right, I'm gonna bend it a little bit so that it's got a hook. Because that thing right there, it just kept going into the bottom of it. Ah! You know what? I'm gonna hold on to these for later. We don't need these. They're just getting in the way. There we go. Boom. All right. These guys are going to get trapped by this and follow it all the way down, and we're going to force them to stay over here with this zip tie. I'm not sure that I have enough slack for this. Actually, I can make it look a little better if I include it in that one. All right. Zip those up on that side and thread it through the bottom like that. I wish that there was some way to like loop those down. Oh, there is. Haha! They've thought of everything. This case has great cable management. It may not have the best airflow in the world, but boy, is it going to make these cables look good. All right, I need this guy. Oh, you know what? I should probably have included that in those so that it's coming straight across the back. And coming from right there. Yep, we're gonna do that. Sorry, little guys. Let's try this again. See, that is gonna come all the way across there. I wonder how I'm gonna get that to stay right there. How much clearance is that? That's not actually a good look. You know what? I'm gonna take that off. There we go. And these are gonna just thread right across there. We're gonna have a cable tie hold that one up into place. Alrighty. And then same thing with this dude. He's gonna come right across the bottom just like last time. And hold all of those together. Alright. So those are all gonna come across the bottom like this. And I'm happy with those because then they're down into the shroud. These guys both came down from up here and can go kind of across this bottom part and into the shroud. Everything that's in the shroud down here, I'm not going to worry too much about because they look fine. In fact, I'm just going to stuff pretty much everything down in this shroud because they look all right. These two need to come right down here and will be tied down by these Velcro straps that are included. But other than that, I think that that cable management looks pretty fine. Where'd my scissors go? There. All right. Cut off the loose ends of these. And I think that's pretty much it. What's up, Gus? Welcome back. So we just got done doing some cable management on the backside. So everything should be held down right where we want it to go. This guy actually needs to be tied down somewhere. Actually, he's probably okay right there once I get that case on. Okay, so cable management's pretty much done. This case makes it super easy because the front panel connectors are already tied down and you've got this shroud back here to hide most of them. Not a big case, so kind of just got them all out of the way. Go ahead and get that front panel back on, or that cover. And this is one of those hinge covers that I don't have to like push down and slide. It's got just hinges right here that I can hinge on, and that just closes real easy. I can get these thumb screws in. I say real easy, but there we go. One, and just got to find the thread for it too. All right. So that is all the cable management done. Now we are on. Oh. Where'd I go? Okay. Now we are back onto the front side. Man, this is heavy. That cooler is insane. Here's a look at the back of it. We've got our fans that we installed. One's up here, one's right here. The I/O shield with everything lined up. In the I/O shield, I'm not sure if you can see, but there are these kind of like little flaps that go on the outside of each one of these. You are not supposed to take those off. On some of the cases, they will be visible little flaps right here and right here on everything. Those are to release static discharge between the I/O shield and the motherboard. If you take those off, you run the risk of shocking the motherboard through one of these connectors. So you always want to leave those on. Let me see if I can get a good shot. See, they are right there. I'm going to lift that up, and right there on the inside of that. Never take those off. Anyways, if you ever see an I/O shield, you'll be able to see it, or ever get when you see your I/O shield from your install. All right, so that is pretty much the build done. I'm going to put a little comb on these cables for just a little bit more of a clean look, and maybe zip tie these together. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, let me see if I can get that's it. So I've got my SATA or my M.2 drives, my GPU, my giant CPU cooler, got all my plugs in place, and now we just gotta get that front window back on. Where's the thread for that? There it is. Oh, there we go. There she is. Caution, tempered glass, handle with care. Oh no! Oh, sorry, I should have muted the mic before I did that. My bad. I am gonna need to get a knife or something and get this sticker off. Let's see, I've got one more chance to do it properly. Come on, baby, don't rip. Don't rip on me. Don't rip on me now. Come on. Whew. All right, that was almost a disaster. But we fixed it. All right, well, that is the case done. Now I just gotta go install software for the next 4 hours. And that was the most exciting part, wasn't it? Taking that last sticker off. All right, well, that was the full build in just under 3 hours. Whew, feels good. Didn't run into any major hiccups. I've got one little cable in there that I'm upset about, but overall, not a bad experience. I may end up moving the GPU down a slot just because I think it would look cleaner, but I think this will have more performance. I'm going to run some thermals and make sure that this is working well, but I think that is about it. Ooh. Let's see if you guys can get a little side view. Here, bring this camera around here. 1 second. Oh yeah, well, I probably need to take the front case panel off, but there she is. Alrighty. I'm not sure how good of a view that was. Probably terrible. But, oh well. That's the end of the build. I'll take some pictures and maybe put them on the end of this. I'll take the pictures and put them maybe on top of that. We'll see. We'll see in the video. But thanks for watching, guys. And once I get this up and running, I will probably be back to streaming on a normal schedule on Wednesday or so. So one strip of red LED. I might put some RGB in there. I typically don't like RGB in my cases. I know I'm going to have the EVGA symbol lit up, but is what it is. I think it looks pretty clean. If I do an LED, I might have just like a white LED so that you can see all of the red in there. But it looks super clean without any lights in there right now, so I may just leave it. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Yeah, Wednesday I will... So tomorrow I'll probably just be doing thermal testing. I may end up moving the case fans around and testing the GPU layout and seeing if I need to change some stuff around. I may overclock the CPU, may not. I haven't decided yet. I'm definitely going to overclock the RAM, but I will be posting benchmarks, thermals, performance in games, and anything else probably tomorrow or Wednesday, and then I will be gaming again on Wednesday. So I'll see you guys later. Thanks, guys.